up, everybody? Happy Monday, y'all. I am with my dear friend, Stephanie Shepard.
Hi.
Who is joining us today for our episode of Ask Nick. Rochelle is not with us today. She is off working on her acting career, trying to find any way not to have to work for me anymore. I'm just kidding. She's gonna be super pissed when she listens this back and she hears that. Yes, but Rochelle won't be joining us. She is expanding her career, and since I'm such a great, host of the show, I said, go get that part.
You're so generous.
So Steph is going to help me with some of our callers. But before we get into our calls, we thought we'd hang out with Steph and get to know her a little bit. I met Steph in my acting class.
Yeah.
And we became fast friends.
Yeah, scene partners.
And then I found out wow, Steph's this super impressive, badass woman.
Wow.
And she's quite fascinating. And I wanted to get to know her more. Truth is, I don't know a ton about you. I've learned a little bit as we've worked together.
Mm-hmm.
But you are very impressive.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Very smart.
Thank you.
And then,
appreciate that.
And then, you have this, and then you worked with Kim Kardashian?
I did. I worked with Kim for about almost 5 years.
Wow, running things?
Yeah, I was her right hand.
Damn, what was that like?
It was fun. It was crazy. It was a very unique experience. Looking back, I realize that now, being in it, it was my normal.
So you didn't even kind of realize the uniqueness of your situation?
I didn't, no.
Huh. How did that start?
We have a mutual friend. Kim and I have a mutual friend.
Okay.
And when she was looking to hire someone, they kind of just referred me and we hit it off. And then the rest is
history, as they say. Were you living in LA at the time?
I was living in LA. I'd been here for maybe 2.5 years, and I moved here to be a dancer.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, many moons ago.
Really?
Yes.
Were you? Did you do that as a young child?
I grew up dancing. I cheered for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a year.
What?
Yeah. I know. It doesn't seem like something that I would have
no.
And then when I moved here, my dance agent kind of, she introduced me to Mikey Minden, who is one of the creative directors for the Pussycat Dolls.
Okay.
I was working for him, and by way of him, I met Robin Anton, who is a good friend of Kim's. And from working with Robin for a couple of years, she kind of just referred me to Kim when she was looking for someone. I was early 20s. I was a baby.
And then you went from aspiring dancer to being like this kind of badass businesswoman.
Yeah, I mean, Kim's taught me everything I know, really. I had no experience. I kind of just...
So a lot of it you learned from Kim.
Figured it out as I went. Yeah, definitely. Kind of like that fake it till you make it kind of thing, I had no clue. I mean, I was a dancer from Ohio. I didn't know how to run a multi-million-dollar business with her, but I figured it out along the way.
What were some of the best things you learned from Kim?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, the great thing about it was she wears so many hats, from the beauty line, that coming to fruition, the fragrance line, we did the Kimojis, the Kimoji app, the Kim Kardashian game, the TV show, the clothing line. There was just so many things. She's just got her hand in every different avenue of this business that I learned everything. It was like a crash course in the entertainment business.
Wow. What were some of the biggest fuck ups that you might have had?
Oh my God. I was young, there's one that I just will never forget. Oh, it's so bad. And I don't want to it was, I was young.
The people need it from you.
I was young and I would, it would be at Fashion Week and I would get carried away and I would be late in the mornings and, she's not, she never, we had such a great relationship and that was her leadership for sure. She treats everyone with so much respect and she's just not one to yell or be, abusive. Her abusive power, I guess, is she's not who she is. She's very calm. And so, when I would fuck up, she would just kind of silence me, just kind of like, I know what I did. And that's worse.
Like
it's like
the disappointing parent.
It's a disappointing parent. Exactly. And so you're like, oh shit, I let her down. And that's the worst feeling ever. Cause like, I would never want that. But I mean, yeah, when I was 22, 23, I was bound to fuck up. And luckily she, always believed in me and yeah.
That's great. You made a comment the other week when we were working together, and you said you just think people are so inefficient. And I remember thinking, I felt judged at the same time.
So sorry.
But I agree with you. But can you elaborate on that more? And then, do you have maybe ways? I'm assuming you say that knowing that you are very efficient.
I am
so, what are some
efficient.
things that you do to help your?
Well, and that is again from the training that I've
Sure.
have, and now, when I step back into her world and I just, her whole family moves so efficiently. I mean, it's so impressive. You think you're organized, you're not. Until you get to, have a lesson from Kris Jenner, you don't know anything about anything. And so I know that I have a really unique set of skills because of, the training that I had. And it makes it difficult because I'm really extremely efficient that I can see every way that everyone else is underperforming.
Sure.
And it's really difficult. And it's something that I'm working on realizing not everyone has the same high expectations that I have.
What are some ways people can be if someone's like, oh God, I'm listening to this. I feel judged right now. I know I'm super inefficient. Are there things that you've done to help?
Yeah. And I do this
yourself?
Now that I have an assistant and she's brand new. She's same kind of situation. She's 22, not a ton of life experience. So I try and, mentor as best as I can. And I definitely say, just write shit down. I write everything down, taking notes. Don't expect that you're going to remember something because you're probably not. If you need to get things done, I am such a list maker. I love a to-do list. I love a list for everything. If something's coming up, I'm like, let's make a list about it. The grocery list, it doesn't matter. Staying organized in that way, I think is super helpful. And it's helpful when you see what you have to do, and you can check it off. And those little moments of, completion make you feel like you're getting shit done.
Totally. I'm bad at making lists.
You got to make lists. You just got to be organized and time management. It's so important,
I know.
Are you not that? You're looking at me like, yeah.
I feel very judged. I'm ADD and I'm
everyone is too.
I can think of the ideas, but I'm not super efficient. I'm very hardworking and I'm on time. Mm-hmm. I'm not late.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing.
You
for
are
me.
punctual.
I
tend to I've been running behind lately. I feel like every time I see you, I'm always like, I'm 10 minutes late. So maybe that's me being inefficient. That's my inefficiency I need to work on.
That is. And so, but I'm not a good note taker. I just can't. It's just, it stresses me out. I don't know. I have bad penmanship. I think it's probably because I'm dyslexic and
do you retain information just by
pretty well, but not
fine.
as well as I could be. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I should be making lists because I will forget.
Yeah.
My brain has a way of obviously prioritizing things. I know I can't forget this, so I do it. But that is not a fail safe way. And I've just survived that way. I could be more efficient for sure.
Yeah. I think everyone can be, but
it bugs me that I waste time.
Yeah.
But I stay busy, but
you're pretty busy.
Yeah, I don't know. So what are you doing now? What are you working on now?
My Facebook Watch series with Elle just came out.
Ooh, tell us more about that.
It's basically a show that I get to talk to women in different situations, whether it be, one episode we have on a military mom and we talk about the struggles of, living that life. And, her husband gets deployed for 8 months at a time and she kind of has to man the 2 kids and she really wants to get back into work and kind of giving her tips and things of, taking the 10 minutes for herself in this chaos of a toddler and a baby, taking that 10 minutes for her is so important. And then, giving her beauty tips and style tips on how she can transition from mom to meeting. And so she can get back into, work and what she wants to do. We have an episode a dating episode where we give dating advice. We do the speed dating round, and we just talk about, we just share stories and share advice. And I feel like it was so important, when Elle approached me to produce the series, to be able to create a community where women feel supported. And I feel like, what you do here and sharing these stories and this advice, it makes people feel a little less alone.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's great. And you're right. We try to do that here, and it's pretty awesome that you're doing that over there and with Elle. And everyone's just like, we're in a culture that feels more and more alone every day because we're buried ourselves in our phones. And it's easy to feel like, no, this doesn't happen to anyone else. And to hear people's stories, and sometimes it's these simplest problems where we feel most alone. That sometimes it's just hearing, I'm like, oh my God, like, really?
I know. And I feel that
Me
all
too.
the time too.
Yeah.
It's like, as much as social media these days is supposed to bring people together, and it does, because you can connect with people from across the world, it is a little bit isolating, to feel like you're the only one that feels insecure or feels, whatever it is. And I think it's important. I think now more than ever, we're craving a sense of community. And I think that that's what's missing.
Totally. That's great. So before we jump into our call all about relationships, you've been through the ringer with your love life in the past?
Gosh, for sure.
What's one thing that you've learned about yourself through a mistake you've made, and then something that you've learned about yourself through a mistake your partner's made?
Well, I've made a lot of mistakes.
I think
the one thing that stands out to me that I think taught me the biggest lesson was, I was dating this guy, and he was definitely way more into me than I was into him. And I was like hooking up with someone else, and he knew that.
Okay.
And he just like loved me so much that he didn't care. And I was really taking advantage of his love. And it took me kind of reflecting on like, oh my God, what do you do? Like, like being a friend, stepping out of the situation and being like, if that were my friend, I would tell that guy, like, this girl's taking advantage of you, like, get out of this. So I had to kind of, as hard as it was, because he was so great and I loved him and it was awesome, I was like, I know that this isn't it and I need to step away from this. So I kind of like had to be a real adult and be like, okay, you deserve better than me, kind of a thing.
Yeah, or just, and we have a caller this episode who, not that's the same situation, but like you're recognizing that you were probably being selfish in that moment.
Totally.
And when we're younger, it's very easy. I mean, adults take advantage of situations. Humans do.
Sure.
But it's a mature thing to do, to recognize I'm being selfish in this moment. And we all have been there, but like then doing something about that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that happens a lot, I think, with people. Everyone likes someone who doesn't like them back. And it's always fun to feel loved.
For sure.
It's always fun to get that attention. And we have a way of sometimes taking advantage of the people who are showering us with the attention while we're out there shooting our shots with people who don't like us.
Yeah.
What about a mistake, like something you were hurt or someone made a mistake that you realized, maybe I'm not going to put myself in this situation again? Like you were like maybe okay with it for a while, or a pattern, where it's just like, I can't do this anymore.
I mean, I definitely had a toxic relationship that I was too insecure to get out of, I guess. And I mean, I can't think of a mistake per se. I feel like I want to say that relationship was a mistake, but I know that it wasn't, because, now I know what I won't put up with. I kind of had to go through that to know that I definitely deserve more than that, I guess. So, I think at this age and where I am, I'm much more comfortable asking for what I want and knowing what I deserve,
And then speaking up.
And speaking up for it.
We have some callers who struggle with that, of like speaking up. Is that something like, well, how do you, find your voice, so to speak, in terms of... I think for me, experience and time and really the age, having that, working on myself. I've done a lot of work on myself in the past couple of years to, feel worthy of my place in the world. And I think that
I guess with age, it comes like you just don't give a fuck anymore what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
The older you get, you're like, I don't really care. Like, I don't care. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you, don't agree with me. This is what I think. This is what I know. This is what I want. And I've really dropped the pressure of like needing to be liked and needing to like please.
Sure.
So I think, and that's just come with being taken advantage of. That's come with, being heartbroken. That's come with time and age, I guess. And maybe some people realize it sooner, and that's okay too.
This is great. Should we get to these calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Thanks for listening. Obviously, before we get into these calls, send in your questions at asknick@castme.com, cast with a K. And let's just get to it.
Let's do it.
Rothy's. Oh, we love our Rothy's.
Got
Rochelle
mine on.
is sporting her camel Rothy's. I'm seeing women all over town wearing their Rothy's, and I just think to myself, why not me? But no, it's amazing. They're doing both great things for your feet, for comfort, and for the environment by, instead of wasting plastic, they are recycling it and turning it into fashionable, incredibly comfortable.
All kinds of shoes. They got Chelsea boot style. They got sneaker style.
They have all these types?
I'm wearing loafer. They got the pointed shoes. And they're all in really cute colors. They always come out with new designs. And plus, Nick, I washed them last night.
They look
They're
brand.
fresh
They
for
always
you.
look brand new. You just throw them right in the washing machine, and then boom. I'm in improv right now. They tell us not to make sound effects.
Really?
Well, yeah, because they're like, what,
Nick's taking a class at the Groundlings.
They look great. So everyone's wearing them. They're very
Yeah.
popular. So if you haven't got on the Rothy bandwagon,
You
do
got
it
to.
now. Be sustainable with your fashion.
Yeah.
Check out all the amazing styles available right now at rothys.com/VIALL. Go to rothys.com, ROTHYSDOTCOM/VIALL to get your new favorite flats, comfort, style, and sustainability. These are the shoes you've been waiting for. Head to rothys.com/VIALL today. Ritual. Better health doesn't happen overnight. That's right. No, we all know shavings make a pile. Tell us about Ritual. Rochelle?
I take it every morning. And the reason I like it, I used to take these vitamins that like they were huge and they tasted gross. Do you know that feeling? And then they made my stomach feel weird.
Yeah.
But Ritual has these very special capsules that don't upset your stomach. And also that I appreciate, it's vegan friendly, sugar free, non-GMO, gluten free, and it's just like specially formulated to make me feel great. Plus, it's a subscription, so I don't have to go out and pick it up. It's delivered right to me.
We all love that. Better health doesn't happen overnight. And right now, Ritual is offering my listeners 10% off your first 3 months. Fill in the gaps in your diet with Essential for Women, a small step that helps support a healthy foundation for your body. Visit ritual.com/VIALL to start your ritual today. That's 10% off your first 3 months at ritual.com/VIALL.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Anna. I am 26 years old.
Hey,
Hi, Anna, 26. How can we help?
All right, so it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. To start from the beginning, so I've been with my boyfriend for a little over 2 years. And when we first started dating, we had the typical honeymoon phase and everything was really great. And our relationship kind of unfolded really quickly. Like in the first 6 months, we got really, really serious. And everything was going well. We moved pretty quick in that we were both in a small town. And we both really wanted to move to a larger town. And it just so happened that we both wanted to move to the same large town. And so everything kind of came together for us to move to a big city together. And we started planning this move together. We spent a lot of time talking back and forth about, like, should we move in together? Because we'd only been dating for probably about, 6 months at that point, 7 months, 6 or 7 months. And we decided we were going to move in together when we moved. And ever since we made that decision, so that was like a year and a half ago, and we decided to move to a big city. His job changed, my job remained the same. But ever since then, our sex life really changed. Like, things were awesome, in that honeymoon phase. And then once life kind of shifted and we were planning a move and there were all these new elements of just like stress and everyday stuff, we really stopped being intimate, I guess, and definitely less frequently. And then it kind of dwindled, and it's super infrequent even to this day. And so I guess my question to you guys is, I'm just interested in getting like another guy's perspective on it and maybe giving me, I don't know, some ideas of
how, when you mean by infrequent, what are we talking here?
Like, how infrequent?
Yeah. I mean, that's all a matter of perspective. So I'm just trying to get your perspective.
Well, so like now, like, we don't have sex
At all.
Ever.
No.
When was the last time you had
like,
sex?
We've probably had sex like twice in the past year, I'd say.
Oh, word.
Okay.
Yeah. And like prior to that, like kind of before we were moving, it was like when we were planning our move, before we actually moved, it was just like less frequent. Cause like before, like when you first start dating, you're like,
sure, of course,
doing it all the time.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
I can't really compare that to like a healthy sex life, cause that's probably the other side of the spectrum. But yeah, so like just a huge shift. And I know that like things change over the course of a relationship. And I also totally know that like stress can be a huge impact in like sex life and like sex drive.
Sure.
And we've talked a lot about it. Like, it's something that we've talked a lot about and that a lot of fights have been about. And like, he feels really bad because it makes me feel, like bad about myself. And like, it feels like something
like unwanted
that I'm like, that he's like, it feels like a personal thing, but I know that it's not. And on the same token, like, I know he really wants to, but he just like feels too stressed too. So
when he says
that's his answer, he feels too stressed. Like,
when he says he really wants to, what does that mean? Like, I mean, I don't want to sound crude, but does his dick not work in a sense? Like, have you asked him? I mean, because this is drastic, right? This is not like, hey, we had a honeymoon phase, we had a bunch of sex. Oh, now we only have sex once every other week. Because like, that's a drastically different, and you could still even be unsatisfied in that situation, but at least there's some consistency there, right? Yeah. You've had sex twice in a year. That's drastic. That's non-existent, right? So my big question as a guy, I'm thinking, does he masturbate? Like, is he literally just not using it?
That's a good question. Have you talked about that?
Yeah, no, we've talked about all of it. And so in the couple of times that we've had, like, it works fine. I mean, it's not, like everything is okay, but he doesn't masturbate I've asked him and he's like, no, I really don't. Like, it's just like a total disinterest in sex. And whenever I bring it up or like we talk about it, I'm like, do you want to get back to where we were? Like, not necessarily, like bunnies, but like, do you want that to be a part of a relationship? And he's like, yes, I do. But I'm just freaked out. Like, he's told me he's freaked out because he feels like there's something wrong with him. And he has he's gone to the doctor about it. He's gone to a couple different doctors and like, they've literally just said that it's stress related. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, where do we go with that? Like,
what's he stressed about?
Life is stressful. And I feel like, as life goes on, like, it's only going to get more stressful. And the thing is too, like, every other part of a relationship is awesome. And it's grown, like, we've grown so much together as a couple over the last 2 years. So I really want to like be his partner and make it work. And he's been really vulnerable with me and sharing that, like, it makes me feel like I'm not, like I'm not the guy like that I should be for you. And it freaks me out that like there's something wrong with me and I don't know what it is. And I haven't been able to get any guidance on what it is. And it's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy where like he's stressed out about like why it's not happening, that then it just like creates it continuing not to happen.
And you just got to ask the obvious questions. Like, you have no no insecurities about this is a cover for any type of infidelity or anything like that. I mean, it sounds like that's not the case, but sometimes we lie to ourselves.
No, I really don't think it is. Like, no. I mean, he's really faithful, and like I said, every other part of our relationship is wonderful. So, and like I know he loves me, but I just don't feel any desire from him.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, has he ever offered to do things for you, even if he's not necessarily interested in getting his? That's an option.
If we try, he will sometimes, but not like he doesn't initiate, because I think he just thinks the whole thing is uncomfortable now and it's stressful, and like he just assumes that I'm going to be disappointed, and there's just like a lot of emotion attached to it at this point. That
how often are you fighting about it now?
His default is to just like not
try,
just avoid. It's just to like avoid it.
I mean, like, there seems to be some like deeper rooted issues here. I mean, it must be discouraging as a guy to go to a doctor and having a doctor say it's just stress related. He should maybe get maybe a third or fourth opinion. There's unfortunately not every doctor knows what they're doing. You might they just might not have an answer, right? Sometimes doctors, when they don't have an answer, will just give you some sort of vague diagnosis. So there's that. Right. There could be. I mean, listen, this does sound drastic. There sounds like there's a lot of like emotional and mental things going on. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with him, but it sounds like he needs to deal with something.
Like, what's he dealing? How is he dealing with the stress? You know, if that's the issue, what is he doing to?
How old is he?
He just turned 30.
Okay, so like a young guy.
Yeah. So I mean, he's into he has hobbies outside of work. So I've pinpointed, I think that the big thing that changed was like just the stress of like the move and everything, but also like his job change. He works in a startup now. So like, I just feel like in life he feels very unsettled because the future of his company is very unknown at this point. So it's like, I honestly feel like he's living in a constant state of stress where like, it's like this isn't even on his radar. It's something to like be putting his energy into, because there's so many other things that he does put his energy into, like professionally. And he definitely derives a lot of like his self-worth from his job. So he changed position. Like he was in a very stable, steady job when we first met and everything was great. And then when we moved, he decided to take a leap on this new startup company. And that's where we've been for the past like year and a half. But like, even and despite all of that, he does have like hobbies, and he does do stuff and like hang out with friends and do things to unwind. And like we like have date nights, and we like have like romantic moments like that, but it's just like physically.
And when
he's hitting this roadblock. When
you initiate things with him, like, does anything come of it? Like, how does that, or do you just not initiate it anymore because you don't want to stress him out?
Yeah, I haven't initiated in like a while, probably in like a couple months. But if I do, it's like he's either tired, like he's like, I'm just too tired, or like, oh, I've got something else I need to work on, or like there's just always some kind of excuse. And like we've definitely had conversations with Bill about that, where I'm like, okay, well, if you're always tired when I try to initiate, like where does that leave us? And like and it's something that like we've both agreed that we want and that we need to work on, but there's like no action on his part. And I find that very frustrating. Like he has gone to the doctor, and like, all of that's led it to a dead end. And so it just feels like though he just expects to like bury his head in the sand and then come up one day and it'll all be fixed and everything will be fine. And that's just very frustrating for me. So I'm like, I don't know how to be supportive, and like, I don't know how to do anything different than what I've already done.
Modern fertility. You know what? I love this one.
Yeah.
It's great. It's the future. I have tons of friends. They've all, a lot of them have kids. A lot of them had different experiences in trying to have kids. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
And modern fertility is doing their part in helping women trying to get pregnant or hoping to get pregnant at some point in their life, getting more information to make that process a little bit easier.
Yeah. Also, it's really affordable. It's only $139. And I did it. They delivered it to my door, and I just pricked my finger on this little thing, put blood on it, sent it in, and then they got back to me, let me know everything was normal, and they also offered a lot of support if I needed to talk to someone about what was going on. It's really cool.
I think it's great. I think I always love these things that help us, kind of the things that give us anxiety.
Yeah.
And obviously it can affect our wallet too. So right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or thousands it could cost at a doctor's office. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/VIALL. modernfertility.com/VIALL. American Home Shield, new friend of show. Hey, listen, sometimes, especially you homeowners out there, there's things that you have that cost a lot of money that are kind of out of mind, out of sight, like your furnace, like your washing machine. And sometimes, they usually come with a warranty, and those warranties never go as long as you want or often need. And then those things break down, and then you have this very huge, very unexpected cost that you have to deal with. So Home Shield allows you to extend your warranty on some of those more pricey home appliances that you have, to help protect you and your family from unwanted and unnecessary costs.
I know for me, when my budget's pretty tight, so when something goes wrong that's expensive and that I need, like a refrigerator, it throws me off for the entire couple months. And then I'm stressed. I have to put it on my credit card. So having something like this is just going to take a lot of weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, so especially you homeowners out there, looking at your warranties, if those might be expiring, American Home Shield is definitely a great option to look into and consider. What are some of the other things they cover?
Refrigerators, ovens, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical systems, stuff insurance doesn't cover.
Yeah, so check out their website. Could be very useful for you. Go to ahs.com/VIALL today to save $50 and start protecting your home and budget for the inevitable breakdowns. ahs.com/VIALL. That's American Home Shield. Be sure with the shield.
Limitations and exclusions apply. See plan for details.
When you get really mad at them, you're not mean or anything, are you?
Like to make him feel worse about the situation?
Yeah. When you're really mad.
It kind of has that impact. And it does, because I get mad, and like in the moment when I try to initiate, he's like, I'm just tired right now. Like, you have no patience. And then I'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you could say that.
Yeah.
I've been patient for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So it does definitely escalate sometimes, and we have big fights about it. And
have you thought about going to like a therapist to talk this out? Because clearly if it's stress and it's not a physical thing, that maybe he needs to actually talk to someone on how to deal with his stress so that it's not taking over his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that too, but he's very adamant against,
So
He
here's
doesn't wanna do it.
so that seems to be a point of frustration. Here's what I think, right? I've been in relationships, long-term relationships, and there have been periods in those relationships that for whatever reason, I got into this like sexual funk.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like I had a pretty strong sexual appetite, but there have been times like in a long-term relationship, you're just like, I don't know why I don't want to have sex with you. I just don't. I think that's just natural, right?
Yeah.
Happens for men and women.
Yeah.
But you do have to try to get out of it, Like he needs to try to get out of it. And this whole I'm sure he's frustrated. I'm sure he's defensive. I'm sure he is stressed out. But I'm one of the most anxious people in the world. And stress can definitely have an effect on men and their sex drive, but it doesn't just shut it down completely.
Yeah.
And regardless, he's still in a relationship with you.
Right.
And
so
if
he
he
needs to
want-
think about you as
Yeah.
well.
And if he wants to be in a relationship with you, he needs to make an effort, even if it's he is struggling. And again, I'm sure that if in your sexual relationship, you would like to him be just as into it, but he should still want to perform things for you, and he can still take the initiative, even if he
if he can't.
doesn't want to. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times are there women in relationships giving guys blowjobs when they don't want to give a blowjob?
Yeah, I mean, I'm tired all the time.
You know,
I'm
and you just-
exhausted, but you still.
You literally
Yes.
suck it up, so to speak. So like sometimes guys can do that. And I don't know why we have this idea that like a guy has to be in the mood to like perform like sexual favors to their partner. So like there's an expectation I think it would be fair for you to have, right? How to solve the long-term problem of actually having him be like into it. Like he needs to like do something about it. I don't want to talk to a therapist because there's something drastic going on here.
Yeah.
So it's not drastic to say that like just because he has a job and moved, that happens all the time. The world is filled with people stressed about their jobs, and most of them want to have sex more than twice a year. There's something else going on that he needs to be willing to work to uncover, because everything else might be perfect, but sex is a part of a relationship. And if he's not willing to make the effort, then that is something you need to concern. So if it is not going to just wake up and get better. He's a 30-year-old guy. That's really young. His sex drive should not be gone at this point. So if he's not willing to do something about it, because you are at this breaking point where you are justifiably frustrated, but you nagging at him and like getting frustrated and maybe even being mean out of your frustration is only going to make it worse. That's true. But like you're getting frustrated based off of like this acceptance that he generally has about like, well, I don't want to. So what do you can't get mad at me for?
He's got to show up somehow.
Yeah, he's like playing the victim, and I guess I get where he's coming from. He's defensive, but he hasn't done everything he could, right? Because if the diagnosis is stress related, then he needs to learn how to deal with that stress, and it might be therapy. And before you get like couples therapy, he literally might want to go. I mean, again, I'm not a therapist, so this is an unprofessional opinion, but he needs to go to see someone before you both need to see someone.
Because it's clearly
It's his problem, not your
his thing,
like. Yeah. And maybe eventually that therapist brings you into the conversation because they've uncovered something that you guys have to do. But you being like everything else is okay, but this means everything's not okay in a relationship. So whether that is your sex life or how they treat you as a human being or the quality time you are or not getting, like saying everything is great, but that but is important, right? And so,
if it really is important to him, you'd think that he would be kind of doing these gestures of trying to make it better or trying to work through it, you know?
That's the thing. Like he's so stressed out that he can't like, do things that whatever might get you guys in the mood. Maybe it's some sort of like couples porn. I don't fucking know. Maybe it is seeing a sex therapist. There are plenty of things that he seems to be resistant of doing. And he can't like, I'm stressed
unfair.
at my job is not like that. Yeah, I get it. We've all been there. And that can be a reason why for periods of time you have a low sex drive. And but this is not that. This is a consistent ongoing problem, and there's something that he's unwilling to deal with. But you can only do so much, right? Like you can't make him go.
So that's where I'm like, okay, I can only do my part. So like, what does that look like for me? Like, is that an ultimatum? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on, where you're at. Are you at your breaking point where it's like, how, it's up to you. How long can you live like this?
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten into like a pretty comfortable routine of just not trying, but I know long term that's not.
Well, that's the problem. You've gotten into a routine. A routine doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. It just means you're used to it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I think you just got to keep doing your part. You know what I mean? I think, being supportive, trying to, maybe if you guys are taking relaxing weekends, like get out of wherever you live, go step away from the world that's so stressful and try those things. And if you just keep doing 100% of, your role, that's all you can do. And then you're going to get to a point where you're like, look, I am doing everything I possibly can. And you're not even trying to make an effort to make this right. And then maybe that's when the ultimatum comes, Yeah,
and here's what I would do in the short term. For like the next month, I would just back off. I wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't initiate it. I wouldn't try. I would see what he does. Don't bring it up. Like you're doing that for two reasons. Like let him reset, because at this point you both are in a funk of like anytime you're going to bring it up now, he's just going to feel anxiety and pressure, right? So just drop it for a while. You've waited this long. I think you could probably manage a a month, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying forget it, but it's just like wait a little bit, let him. And so that way you're just kind of like, I haven't brought it up at all. But then eventually you can say, hey, listen, I've really backed off, but like this is something that I need in a relationship. And so, and then back off for a period of time and then ask them, okay, what can we do? Because we need to do something. Here's what we have done. Here's what we haven't done. Are you willing to do this? And if he keeps saying no, then you're kind of at that point where you need to decide, if he's not willing to try more, then I need to start deciding
if this is the right place for me. Yeah.
You're only 26. You deserve to have sex in your relationship. You deserve to feel desired.
And you deserve to
be
have
romanced.
someone who is willing to make, you know, changes and make the effort to make your relationship better in any, you know, part of it. So
yeah. And again, even if he's not in the mood or tired, he does you a couple solids here and there. Like this whole, like, I'm not in the mood, so we're never going to do it. And I can't make you feel sexy. Relationships are built on doing things that you want to do, not in the moment you want to do it.
Yeah. We all have to do things for our partners that, you know, for them. That's the whole point.
And, you know, so yeah. Everything else is great. Isn't an excuse to ignore this. And you know, you're not. You're asking and you're obviously reaching out. But like in the short time, maybe just back off for a period of time. See if maybe slowly, like, he notices that, like, wow, she hasn't brought it up in like 4 or 5 weeks. And maybe he'll surprise you. I don't know. But right now,
take the pressure off a little bit and just let it sit.
And then and then see if maybe that happens. I mean, it probably won't, but
hopefully it will.
Hopefully it will. But then start having some expectations. Think about what you have done, what you haven't, and then present him options and see if he's willing to do it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's about where I am. So it's just helpful to hear, like, from somebody not in this position, like, what's normal, what's not, what I'm asking unreasonable, what's not.
You're not.
So,
you're not being unreasonable. You have every right to be frustrated. This is not normal at all. It's a drastic thing, right?
Yeah.
This is not like we only have sex a couple times a month or once a month. This is, we don't have sex.
Yeah.
So you have a right to be frustrated.
Totally.
All right.
Okay.
Well, keep us posted.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Best of luck. You're gonna be fine.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Like, get a vibrator in the meantime.
Right.
So sorry, girl.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where it was that drastic?
No.
No.
Thank God.
Have you ever been in a situation where, like, there were lulls?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, long-term relationships, it's just like stuff comes up. There's work, there's travel, there's, you know, whatever it is, emotions but I've never fallen off that hard.
Yeah. And it's always weird. It's always like women are always giving blowjobs to boyfriends when they don't want to. And it always seems to be this weird expectation that, like, a guy has to be in the mood to somehow return the oral sex favor. And it's just like, well, I'm not in the mood. It's like, I don't give a shit.
I know.
Yeah. So guys seem to get away with that more often.
Guys seem to,
Like, and by, I mean, more often, like always. There's, I don't know.
I hope she figures it out. I wonder, that's just so, like, it's just so
it's
odd.
drastic.
Yeah.
There's something deeper there.
Yeah.
There's definitely something deeper. And I got, like, you could tell she mentioned, I've definitely addressed the therapist option. And you could tell it was a sticking point where he shut that shit down.
Yeah. Which isn't fair because, you know, I mean, it's part of the relationship. You should want to make the relationship better. Yeah. And if that's something that your partner thinks that you should do, it's like, you got to be willing.
He's closed off to something. He doesn't want to. But like, unpack
that's like
something.
And I mean that it's just, that's a long time. It's a long time.
That's not having sex. She's just like, yeah, we don't have sex anymore.
And they haven't been together that long. It's not like they've been together for 20 years.
No.
You know?
He's 30. She's 26.
They've been together 2 years?
Yeah. Well, regardless. I mean, even if you've been together for 5 years, as young people, you have a sex drive.
Yeah.
And I actually believe her that she's not, like, you know, a lot of times like, oh, I know they're faithful. And, like, you can be like, I think you think he's cheating. You don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
I don't see that there.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm 24.
Hi, Kristen, 24.
Hi.
How can we help?
Hello. Hi. So, a year and a half ago, I moved to Germany kind of randomly, was just looking for adventure, traveling, something different. I just graduated from college and didn't really know what to do with myself. So decided to move here and meet new people, experience a new culture. And obviously part of that is the dating culture. I was single when I came here. I just gotten out of a relationship, but was kind of ready to experience new people, whatever. And didn't realize that the dating culture in Germany is extremely polarized. So it feels like probably 3/4 of the people are in super serious relationships in their 20s, like 24, 25 years old, our age. I've been in relationships for like 10, 11 years, ready to get married. And then everyone else is either girls looking for serious relationships or guys on Tinder or Bumble. Dating apps are also pretty big here. Those guys are really just looking to sleep with people, not actually looking for a serious relationship. So it's kind of confusing to me how most people have gotten into relationships here. I've been pretty active on Tinder. I'd never used it before I moved here, and I had never met anyone from it. So I've met like a few guys from it. And recently I have been super casually hooking up with some guys that I'd met in bars and met on these apps. And recently met this one guy, and he had gone to college in the U.S., so he played a sport there and lived in the U.S. for 4 years. So he's German, but is very familiar with Americans, and most German people speak English super well. So he was super excited to meet me, super excited to speak English, and hook up with an American girl. But so the first time we met, we met up, hung out for a little bit, hooked up that night. And then later he decided to start telling me about all of his experiences with American girls and how American girls are super easy and how they like super casual relationships and kind of all of the different experiences he's had with American girls and how they're very different than German girls. German girls are a lot more reserved. Apparently most of the German girls on Tinder have like no one night stand in their profile. So I didn't realize that. Obviously I didn't have anything in my bio. So I was
there are American girls who have that too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
No, this is true. Of course. Totally. But anyway, so the first time we hooked up, he spent most of the time like talking about his experiences with other girls, and I didn't really care because mostly I was just in it for a hookup. I was not looking for anything serious, wasn't really looking for a relationship, and it was fine to just be kind of like a fuck buddy situation.
Okay.
And then we've been hooking up consistently since then, and the most recent time he actually was like much more touchy and a little bit more intimate, and I was not really expecting it. He was kind of holding my hand and like saying things to me along the lines of like, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy we're spending time together, whatever. And then in the morning after I had slept there, he actually made a comment and he was like, you can't talk to German girls the way you can talk to American girls. And I was like, yeah, why not? And he said, because American girls let you talk to them like objects and they have no dignity. And
oh my God.
I was so shocked. I know. I was so shocked. I didn't even know what to say. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, you're a piece of shit.
Oh, fair.
And I had no idea. I was shocked that he said that. And the first thing he responded was, okay, but not you. So I guess my question is, I don't know how to approach this because for some reason, I still am attracted to this guy. I still am wanting his attention and craving hanging out with him again for some reason. And I have no idea why, because if any guy said this to any of my friends, I would just be completely like telling them to, completely leave him in the dust, whatever, like don't pay attention to him anymore. But for some reason, I can't get him out of my head. And I find myself craving his attention, wanting to hang out with him again. And I just don't know what's going on and how to approach this, how to react to him in the future. I don't know.
So when you said that the last time, you didn't react positively to him. What was the reaction to that? Or do you, I mean, how does that make you feel that he said that? You know, I know you know that you'd be upset that if he said that to your friend, but like, why do you believe him?
So I think the thing is, I feel like he is putting on this persona because from the beginning, we both kind of decided it was like a fuck buddy situation, and we never actually established it, but it seemed like we were both kind of in it just for, hooking up and not a relationship, nothing else. And I think that he has kind of like put on this persona because both of us have just been booty calling each other and not actually putting in the effort towards like getting to know each other. So I think he thinks it's okay to say those kinds of things.
Do you believe that he means it is my question?
No, I don't.
You don't?
That's the thing.
You think he's making it up?
I don't.
You think he's just like putting on a show?
Reaction.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I think he's looking for a reaction out of me, and I haven't given one.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I have
no idea. Because it's easier to
why
believe that he actually thinks that?
I think some of his experiences that he's had
Did you remind them that when he was
that?
having sex with American girls, these girls were in college? You know, and college people are a little bit more. They're everyone's figuring it out. Everyone's a little bit more of an exhibitionist. Like, you know, college people it's more of a hookup culture. So like he's got this small sample size of people who are a little bit more sexually active and experimental, and maybe those same girls back in Germany who are on Tinder who say, I don't want to fuck buddy, were the same girls in college just like having a good old time.
Do you
totally.
Are you do you want to be more than a fuck buddy with him?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, you like him.
I do. Yeah. I'm starting to like him, which is also confusing because I originally didn't want a relationship, but now I find myself like craving kind of that companionship because I've been doing this like hookup thing for a while with some random guys, and it's been fun, it's been good, whatever, but now I'm like looking for actually something more.
It's not,
and for some reason he's the one that I really want it with.
Okay. Well, it's not black and white, right? It's like if you're a fuck boy, as like a lot of people like to say, right? If you're a guy, like every guy's a fuck boy until he meets someone he wants to settle down with. Right. Even a woman who like is, sex positive, who wants to like go out and do the same thing without judgment, doesn't mean they don't want to settle down someday. Right. Like it's not like at a early age, you decide, am I going to get married or am I just going to fuck my whole life? Like it's not one or the other. So it's okay for two people who have told themselves, well, I don't want to get settled down and I don't want to commit. I just want to go out and live my life. And then you meet someone and you're like, oh shit, I kind of like you. That's not that abnormal.
Yeah.
And now he's expressing, when you meet him, things are changing. He's saying it's nice to see you. You like hearing this. It feels good. Like
just go with it.
Allow yourself to accept that maybe I like this person. Now, as far as him saying these things, I think you need to really figure out whether he means it or he's putting up a front. Neither one is okay. I guess it's slightly better if he's putting up a front because he doesn't mean it, and maybe there's some immaturity there if he thinks it's cool and he thinks, I think guys sometimes will make that mistake. I know I've made that mistake. Your relationship starts off sexual, and I think sometimes I know I've made that mistake. You go a little too far, the whole relationship is sexualized, and so all you talk about is sex and what you want to do, and eventually, and I've had girls being like, you know what, you only talk to me in this way, and I don't like it. And it's like, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that. So there could be a little bit of that. I mean, this whole like treating it for a guy to say that he enjoys treating anyone like an object's not okay, and I think you should shut that down real quick. But ask him, it's just like, it's not okay that you say this. And I don't care if you say this about, like, the fact that he's like, well, not you. I don't like that you think that about any woman. I don't care if she's American or German or Finnish or whatever. Like, you shouldn't think of anyone as an object. And it makes me feel uncomfortable that you enjoy that.
Yeah.
So nip that in the bud, so to speak, but talk to him about it. Like, have a mature conversation about, like, what do you mean by this? And just be honest. Like, and if he still puts up a front, then that's a red flag to you to say, well, maybe doesn't have the emotional maturity to, like, maybe he either A, actually believes this, which is the biggest red flag, or B, he doesn't know how to be himself around you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because he's not a guy you can date if he can't be comfortable enough to be vulnerable.
Yeah. So if it is B, if he doesn't feel comfortable enough to be himself around me, how do I go about, I don't know.
Well, you can't make him.
I know, but sometimes I feel like some of that stuff takes time, you know?
It can. I think this is a weird thing for him to say. So, like, it's a potential red flag, right? Don't you think? I mean, the general question to Steph's point,
like a douche, like just saying something like, "Oh, well, I know this." Like, I don't know. If he believes it, then just like, that's it.
I'll say this, right? Like, a kind of guy like this, I think you need to, like, shut it down. In a sense that, like, you need to, like, exert power in this relationship and say, like, that's not okay, and see how he responds to that.
Yeah.
Because if he's putting up a front, he'll quickly be like, you know what, I'm sorry.
Like,
I didn't really mean that. I was just like, I'm an idiot.
Totally. Like, I was.
But you really have to, like, be like, fuck that.
Fuck that. I don't like that.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
And see how he responds to that. If he pushes back, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
That means he actually believes that, and he wants to, like, stand up for his opinion and explain why he thinks these people are objects to him. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think if you like him, you need to minus all that. Like, let's assume he's putting up a front. You call him out. He's like, you know what? I'm sorry. That was immature of me to say. I don't know why I said that. I'm an idiot, et cetera, et cetera. Then you need to accept that you like him. Be okay with that, not judge yourself. And listen, if it doesn't work out, you can go back to the lifestyle you had before. Again, it's not like this is not black or white.
Stone, yeah.
You can date someone and go back to having a more casual sex life. But don't pretend to not like him while meanwhile you're falling in love with them, type of thing. It's real messy and fucked up, and so you start.
I wouldn't go that far.
It sucks for you too.
I don't think I'm falling in love with him.
Well, I mean, you're either
falling in like with him.
You're falling in like with him. You're either you're developing romantic feelings. You're on that path, right? You like him.
I like the advice of being like strong and assertive. Like, this is not okay with me, and seeing how he feels, and then just kind of going with your feelings.
I think, don't allow yourself to say to yourself first, I want to date this guy. And if you can say it to yourself, then you need to say it to him and say, I don't want this to be casual anymore. I want to feel like, A, you respect women, then I want to feel like you respect me, and I would like to be exclusive. I wouldn't say it that, unromantic.
Succinct, like.
But I think you should be clear. I think you should be clear with your intentions. I don't think you should be like, well, I mean, I kind of like, what do you think of this? And have him shoot up like, oh, I was just kidding. Like, don't be afraid to state what you want, but you kind of have to say it to yourself first. You've decided to yourself that you want something casual, and that's great. Like, that's empowering, especially I'm assuming for women to say that, because it's harder for women to do that. Guys get away with it all the time. So it's empowering that you were like, I want to have a casual relationship. And now you're like having a hard time admitting to yourself that you want something more monogamous and traditional. That's also fine too.
Yeah.
So
I think my biggest fear with doing that for him is I'm afraid that he's going to, that he just wants something casual.
Great. Then you have answers.
And now all of a sudden I'm changing it.
That's okay though.
We've said this before. You can't be afraid to ask questions that you're afraid of the answer.
Because then why even if you want something else and he doesn't, so what, you're just going to sit in something that you don't really want forever? Like, no. You want to...
No, this is true.
That's the thing, because if you just want the dick, go find a different dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But right now with him, what you are afraid of is him not reciprocating your emotional feelings. And so then you're going to lie to yourself and just keeping hooking up with someone you're not being... You're not getting what you want. So like, if it's just something casual, go find something casual. And don't be afraid to find out that he doesn't feel the same way. But he might. And again, a good way to do this especially with this guy, insert your power. Don't avoid confrontation. Let him know that you're not fucking around, because even regardless, he thinks it's cool, which is not okay, that he's like macho and misogynistic, and you need to let him know, like, that's not okay. You have to respect me, regardless if it's casual or not. I need to know that you respect women. I wouldn't be surprised if you like really shoot it down and
he backs off.
He backs off of it.
Backtracks. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't feel that way about you. Like, I need to know that you don't feel about this about anyone.
Yeah.
And take a real strong stance. Like, you better like, or I'll drop you. I wouldn't be shocked if he responds in a way that you'd like.
Yeah, no, I think that, and this is how like all of my friends have told me to react to it, and I think it's true. My biggest fear is that that he's going to be like, okay, well, fuck you, and
he might.
Then fuck him.
He might, but don't be afraid. That's
it's true. I shouldn't.
That's
care.
good news. That's good news. So don't be afraid of answers that in the short run you're scared of.
Just go for it.
Yeah, this is true.
All right.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Be
Stand your
bold.
ground. All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey,
Yeah, guys are stupid.
you're really good at giving advice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Relationships suck. It's so hard.
I like the premise I make the general theme is that we try to like, I know it's society, and like we were raised in like this culture of guys get away with so much.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
So she's it's the same one. She's like, what? I don't want to say what I want.
I know.
Like, why?
It's just.
That's weird. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Great. What's your name?
Good. My name is Julia. I am 27 years old, calling you from Ottawa, Canada.
Hey, what's up, Canada?
What's up? Okay. I will try not to ramble because this is like a lot of things kind of coming into one. But I've been in a relationship with my guy for almost 4 years. We were like pretty good friends first, and then I came actually out of a long-term relationship, and after that we started dating. Everything's great. He's such a good guy. We have a really stable and happy relationship. But this past year, I started to kind of think about how I might want to table with the idea of being in an open relationship.
Okay.
Which is a tough thing to approach. But this past summer, I did bring it up to him. He wasn't super familiar with obviously he knew what an open relationship was, but wasn't super familiar with all the details of it. And he kind of shut it down right away. But I kind of decided that it was something that I needed in that moment. I was kind of feeling like I needed to be a little selfish. I needed to take some time to kind of do what I wanted to do, and wasn't really able to be the girlfriend that he deserved at that time. So we took a little bit of a break. And then in the end of it, I came out kind of feeling like it was never a question if I wanted to be with him or not. And by the end of it, I knew that for sure. And he kind of was oddly super supportive and was kind of fine with like letting me do my thing for the summer. And then, so then we started, we got back together. We still live with each other. I'm rambling.
No, you're fine.
We
You're
stayed
fine.
together. Oh my goodness.
So you broke
we
up,
stayed
continue
together
to
the
live
whole
together.
time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like we continued to live together. I was super, super okay with him being able to do whatever he wanted the whole time, which he didn't really exercise. And then, we got back together. Everything's been good. We decided to not do the open thing, but now it's been about 6 months since that happened. And now I'm kind of wanting to do the open thing, and he's willing to do it. But I think he's only willing to do it because
I want to.
Mm-hmm.
So basically my question is it selfish to take him up on it if I know he's only saying yes to make me happy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I already know the answer to my question, but at what point do I want to stay with this guy? Like, we have a very stable relationship. Like, he treats me so well.
Mm-hmm.
And like vice versa, I treat him really well. We've always just really been there for each other, always been like super tight, really good friends. And we work well, very romantically together. And I'm honestly super okay with him being intimate with people if that would be what he wanted to do, but it doesn't really seem like that is the case. And it is not something that I want all the time, but it is something that, say, if I go away on like a trip, if it randomly could happen.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, listen, I think for you, you probably need to figure out what is this really, right? Is this, I think I found my guy. I really like him. And I want to spend the rest of my life with him, but I maybe met him too early in my life where I feel like I want to be a little bit more exploratory. And like, you know, for a summer you did it, then you got back together when you probably had some sex and filled that need. And then some time passed and you thought, that kind of getting bored again. And credit to you for wanting to do it in a very communicative way and upfront way, because there's a lot of, especially men out there, who just decide not to, get complacent, and then will like have the side chick and lie about it and go through this phase. Meanwhile, they're always like thinking to myself, well, I found my wife. Like I'm with my wife, but I'm not ready to be faithful, or I'm not ready to be monogamous. So they will stay in these relationships and lie and be deceitful, all while getting their cake and eat it too. So credit to you for doing that.
Right.
My question to you is it that, or are you really open to actually being in an open relationship for the rest of the foreseeable future?
I definitely am. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids.
Okay.
And that's something that me and my boyfriend have always been vocal about.
He's on the same page there?
I do. Pardon me?
He's on that, and he's on the same page with you about marriage and kids.
Yeah, same page. It was something that I brought up. So he's 8 years older than me. It was something that I brought up to him, like, as soon as we started to get serious. I was like, just a heads up, like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. Like, if that is something that you need, this will not work. But he was like, I'm good either way. So I just think moving forward, I think it's a little weird to, and again, I know this isn't like a normal way to think, but to just think that you're always going to have 100% from one person for the, say, 50 years is just a little crazy to think about.
Yeah.
What I do know is, like, this is my guy. Like, I know he feels the same way. Like, this is such a good, healthy relationship. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, more, I would say the higher percentage of people are traditional. And I just want to kind of think, like, is there a way to breach this discussion to kind of look at it on a realistic field and be like, I feel so secure with what we have that if there's ever a chance that, say, you're out and you feel the need to do something with someone else, like, that wouldn't really bother me. And because it's so emotionalist, I think that it should kind of be vice versa.
Yeah.
So, like, is that crazy to think?
No, I mean, listen, every relationship is different. And as long as you guys are on the same page, we're not here to judge untraditional or unconventional relationships. The problem is with you is you guys aren't on the same page. And so right now, like the short answer to your question is, yeah, I guess it's a little selfish. Sure. And you seem to be aware of that. You are feeling, this is literally about you meeting your needs, and it's not about meeting his needs. You're not meeting your needs as a couple by having an open relationship. So you have a couple options. You can follow through with this desire of yours and hope that he sounds like, for the most part, you guys are on the same page and he loves you and he's accepting of you and he's just maybe not comfortable with the concept because maybe, let's be honest, it's just not traditional. We don't talk about it. It's not a common thing. It's something we grow up thinking we shouldn't do. We grow up thinking it's wrong. So there's a lot of barriers. I think that I'm not into that. I'm not in an open relationship, but there's a lot of barriers that people who even considered it like have to break down. So he could come around.
Yep.
The other alternative is he could grow to resent you because he's trying to be okay with something he's not because he loves you and he doesn't want to lose you and he's trying to make you happy. And right now he's only focused on meeting your needs. You've accepted his gratitude. You've taken advantage of it because you're being selfish right now. That's okay. No judgment. And eventually he's going to be like, fuck this.
Honestly, no offense.
Yeah. And eventually he'll just be like, fuck this, and it will snowball and you might, the fact that you're so convinced that he's your person, you could be jeopardizing that because you're kind of like, okay, I mean, if you're okay with this, I'll do it. But deep down, he's not really okay with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% get that.
That's what you have to figure out. And I think maybe just have more conversation with him. It's like.
Because you don't think that he would take advantage of the open relationship on his end?
I don't. Like in the 3 months, we kind of took that like weird break. He like kissed one girl like one night, and
for you just want to step out, just like not any type, just purely sex.
It's not even specifically sex. And again, I live in a not small, but small-ish town. There's like nothing really here that I'm not attracted to like that many people. Like it doesn't happen all the time. And it's not really a worry. So I don't know if this sounds weird. It's not so much a worry of like when I'm here, like where we live.
I get the excitement of a travel.
Trip planned this year. Yeah, I don't know. I just like, it's not even about sex specifically, but just like, hey, if I meet someone, I'm out with my girlfriend, we like flirt a little bit and then like make out. Like I just like I personally don't look at that as a big deal, where I do know that like some people can, and there's no issue with that, but I would never be offended if my boyfriend did that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I don't know.
Let me ask you this. When you took your break, you had sex with other men?
Yeah.
Does he know about it?
Yeah.
He does. So it's not like one of those things where he's like, I don't want to know. He knows you actually had sex. Okay.
He was honestly like so supportive through it.
So, maybe like that's good that he knows, right? Because it would be a red flag to me if he was like, I just don't want to know.
Yeah.
And that would tell me he's just trying to avoiding reality in hopes that you're happy.
Right.
But he's heard it.
No, he's
faced it.
He's a different breed of person. Like he's we were like such close friends before we started dating that he's always just been, and like not like a schmuck. Like he's not getting the short end of the stick here. Like, he was like, you're going through something, like take the time. I want you to be happy. And then if we work it out in the end, we work it out in the end. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if I had to try to give you advice without like knowing about that world too much, it would be, you've done this once. I wouldn't keep doing it this way. Right. It sounds like you have a guy who's open to trying to communicate with you and meet your needs, and it makes sense. And it sounds like he's pretty understanding. So I would say, hey, listen, you know how I feel about this. You know what I want, but I don't want to put pressure on you. But like, I only really want to do this if you're open to doing it with me. Right. And I'm not saying that to guilt you, but like, and just keep talking about it and like keep that conversation going. Cause maybe one time he's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to try. And it seems like you guys have been able to have these experiences and not build, have this fight. So like encourage it, not force it. Don't make, because you really want him to want to do it for himself, not for you at this point.
I do actually.
Yeah. So just keep letting him know that it's something that you're open to and that it's an option for him. But like, if he wants to try it, then you'll support it and then kind of keep checking in.
Yeah. I think definitely the communication, the honesty and the transparency through it all is going to going to be the one thing that's really important.
Yeah. If it feels like if you keep going down this
I
path
agree.
of taking advantage of his
Willingness to
to be cool with it, it's eventually gonna
blow up.
blow up.
Yeah, which I honestly, I haven't we talked about it kind of recently, but since we so in the breakup, he researched a lot about open relationships, and he was okay. I kind of have more of an understanding about really what it is. Like the person that you're with, is your person, and that's who your person is, and you're completely honest with everything. So he kind of, once he did his research on it, he was like, "Oh, that is something I could definitely table."
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I have some friends who are in untraditional relationships. There's definitely a community there,
Totally.
right? So maybe you guys, as a couple, research, and there's even events or stuff like that, and maybe you explore that and hang out with couples, and not don't hang out with couples with the intent of hooking up, but just to become more familiar with that world.
And maybe even just talking to him about setting boundaries. You know what I mean? To make him feel more comfortable. It's not a thing that's I'm going to get the person's number and continue this on. Being really specific and setting those boundaries might make him feel a little bit more comfortable to ease him into it.
Yeah, because if it's a thing he's never considered or processed, and he, it's Ottawa. You guys, everyone's more traditional, right? For the most part, the community is. So he seems pretty open-minded, clearly. So there might be a barrier for him to just say, am I actually in an open relationship? Some people just they say no because it's I don't know. I'm not that guy. Yeah. Or I'm not that girl. Yeah. And maybe he is. He just hasn't accepted it yet. Yeah. So he certainly seems open. So there might be an option there. But I think the focus is stop doing this by yourself. See if as a couple you guys can do this. Yeah, and it might be a process of just continuing to have conversations, and maybe in a year or something, he's like, you know what, I want to try this. But I think he needs to make the first move.
Yeah,
and then
I'm happy and I'm patient and waiting for that as well.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're. I don't know anything about this, but it sounds like you know what. You're doing it in the most healthy and communicative way possible, and giving it a real shot. And you seem self-aware enough, and it sounds like he might be the type of guy who could eventually be down.
Sweet.
All right. Well, good luck.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, keep us posted. I'm certainly curious how this progresses. So check in with us in the future.
It should be a good time. I'm coming to LA with my girlfriend in April to go to Stagecoach, actually.
Oh, maybe you'll run into a bunch of bachelor people. If by then, if you guys are in an open relationship, best of luck down there. Wear a condom.
Yeah. Not Blake, though.
Yeah, probably not. All right.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Take care. All right. Best of luck.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm fascinated by open relationships.
Yeah.
I will admit that I think I understand the idea is hot.
Yeah.
The idea that I could be in a relationship and I could be okay with that.
It's great.
It's hot.
Have your cake and eat it too.
But it's just, and I don't even mean just me, doing it with another girl. I mean being a guy who could be okay with that.
Yeah.
There's something that is potentially stimulating. I don't really ever want to go there.
And because once you go there, then it's if it blows up, you did it,
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could always go back. It's interesting because couples do break up and they do have sex with other people and then they get back together and couples survive that.
Totally.
And you accept the fact that they slept with other people.
People get cheated on and they get over it and
yeah,
you forgive and you move on.
And the one thing I have learned with people in open relationships, whether you consider it strange or not, they have some of the strong, there's a lot of honesty going on there.
But that's the key. Both parties have to be super down and it needs to be very clear what it is. She seems like she's very communicative, like you said, and honest. And I think that's just the key, super transparent, setting those boundaries of it just stays here. If she's traveling, it just stays on the trip. It's not going to linger and bleed over into our home life.
Totally. Yeah. For me, it's just I feel like I've had my fun. So if I eventually get to settle down, I want to just have that person. But I get it. And I get how old was she? She was young.
20 something.
Yeah. So like, it's like you meet someone at an early age and you're just like, I'm not done having sex with other people,
Yeah.
but I really like you.
Yeah.
I commend her for being honest with him because a lot of guys just cheat.
Yeah.
Or women will do it too. I mean, it's not just guys, but
open relationships to me seem like a good idea in theory, but like I'm a lunatic. So like I would be like, who the fuck is that person? I don't know. I personally don't think I could do it, but I get the point that like humans, like it's a long time to be with one person for the rest of your life forever.
It's interesting because like I haven't been in a committed relationship for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I have had girls that I've dated, and by dated I mean like we've talked for say 4 or 5 months, and within those 4 or 5 months we will hook up from time to time, but we're not. It's very clear that there's no and that usually that clarity comes from me. And there's a variety of reasons, and like for me it's a big idea to like, hey, we're not in a relationship, so I know like we're not dating, and there are sometimes I'm not a robot, right? So like if I hang out with someone and I'm intimate with them, like it's not just about sex always. And so like I can get jealous and I might be like, so like have you what you doing? And sometimes they've admitted that they've like gone on a date or messed around or whatever. And there's just like this weird kind of I know we're not together, so I don't feel cheated on. I don't feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, there's a jealousy there, but there's a weird, like, I'll admit that sometimes I'm jealous, but it's weirdly kind of erotic.
Right.
Because it's so bizarre. It's so like, I get the concept but I have friends who do it, and they're just they're so connected. They're so on the same page.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name's Jenny. I'm 25.
Hi, Jenny, 25.
I live in New York.
All right. How can we help, Jenny, 25?
So I had a question. I went out on a bar date last Saturday with a friend, and I told him I was tired when I showed up and that I didn't want to stay out long.
Okay.
And we had a few drinks, and then he was wondering what we should do next. And he said to me, he's like, okay, I have 3 options. We can stay for another drink, go to another bar. We can call it a night and just go home, or we can get a 6-pack and go back to your place.
That's 4 options.
So I was like, yeah, well, it was like the first one was like
one option.
In guy code, what that means is I'm going to say 3 things I don't want to do.
And I want to do the last
and
one.
then I'm going to give you the option that I want you to say yes to, but I'm going to give you a bunch of options and make it seem like I'm not down to fuck.
Correct. And before he said his last option, which was obviously what he wanted to do, he paused for a little bit because I'm sure he was nervous to say it.
Or
I told him that I was tired.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No, please.
I said that I was tired and I just wanted to go home.
Okay.
And he said, all right, that's fine.
Like an adult or like a baby?
No, like an adult.
Okay. All right. And then?
And then, so we walked home because I lived close to the bar, and I asked him what he was going to do. And he was like, I'm going to call an Uber when I get to your place, but I want to walk you home because it was like late at night. I said,
Fair.
that's fine.
Okay.
So we get back to my apartment, and he just came up and it's awkward. Like, what am I going to do? Be like, okay, well, you're going to call the Uber now? Like, as we're standing outside of the door.
Well,
So
I
he
mean,
just, came
not to
up
make you feel
and-
bad, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. She has a little bit more
Yeah,
time.
I guess
to
I
think.
could have done that, but I just felt bad. Like, I don't know.
Well, my first
So we
advice
just
to you
came
is
upstairs.
stop feeling
Go ahead.
bad saying what you want to guys. Like, stop worrying about guys' feelings in a dating situation, especially, about what you want. Like, don't be a dick, but that's not being a dick.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what you
But
want.
that's the thing is,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's really a big deal. Like, you should. I mean, we see this a lot. We've seen this in these stories. The Aziz Ansari story, obviously a sensitive subject, but like the big argument is, guys who get sensitive are like, well, why don't you say something? And listen, like throughout society and throughout our culture, like, there's a reason why, for some reason, young women or women, all women feel like they don't want to embarrass guys. They feel bad, and somehow that makes them. It doesn't make you a dick, right? It doesn't make you wrong, and we're just trying to make people feel okay, specifically women, for saying, if I'm not comfortable, especially you've already stated what you want, right? And that's fine if he wants to walk you home. He's being a gentleman. Nothing wrong with that. But it's a dick move on his part to like, what he was doing is manipulating, right, the situation. He wasn't taking no for an answer. He wasn't walking you home for your safety. He was walking you home hoping he can come out fine.
And then he came up?
And then he came up. But like, then you felt bad, right? So like, I'm not trying to, don't try not to feel bad. In the future, I'm giving you permission to not feel bad. He'll be fine. And if he's not fine, then he's a dick.
It wasn't completely that I felt bad, but I wanted to I want to be his friend. And I felt like if I said rudely or just saying, okay, can you call an Uber now or go home, that he would get pissed off and like not want to be my friend anymore.
Do you want to be friends with someone who would be pissed off for you for not wanting to invite him up to your house?
I mean,
well, I would hope that he'd realize that.
Well, give him an opportunity to show you what kind of friend he's willing to be to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, you're up in the apartment.
So we're up in my apartment. I go to the bathroom and then I change into some like ugly ass pajamas. And then I come out and sit on my sofa, and he's sitting on one side and I'm sitting like probably like 2 people away from him over, and we're just sitting there and talking. Probably back and forth for about 20 minutes. And I was yawning and saying I was tired, just giving him clues that, hey, it's time to go call an Uber. And finally, after like 20 minutes, he got on his phone and was like, okay, I'm going to call an Uber now. And then he paused and said, I mean, unless you would like to ask me to stay. And it's like, we're not sitting here making out on my couch. Like there wasn't any like foreplay or anything going on about like, we were just going to fuck. It's like, it was clear. Cause if that was going to happen, it would have happened right away.
Yeah. Or you would have said, I want to go back to my house with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Or that.
And then
what happened?
So then I just said, yeah, I'm tired. And he said, okay. And he got up and was walking towards the door and was just like, man, goodbye, I guess. I'll text you later. And that was it.
What's your question?
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot to say already, but do you have a question?
So, yeah, my question is, why do guys feel that they're entitled to get laid when they go out with someone for a drink, or just at all times? I feel like guys are just feel the entitlement that pussy is what they deserve, no matter the occasion.
I'm asking, I actually have a question for both of you. Do you feel like that's the majority of men, or do you feel like that's some men?
That's the majority.
Majority, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a bummer to hear.
It's a bummer for us too.
How close? How?
And you're going to say it's majority of men that you probably surround yourself with, and
no. I'm not judging you. No, that was an honest question. Like, listen, I'm very thankful for the parents I have and the friends I've surrounded myself with, but like, I haven't been that. I don't do that, and there might be a situation where I might not have been aware of, but I'm. The thought of someone thinking I'm creepy, or a woman ever thinking that I made her feel uncomfortable, is my greatest nightmare. And so I like to be aware of that. I'm surprised to hear stories that men don't seem to care.
They don't.
And I have my mom to thank for that, for like making that a really important thing that she raised me and my dad. That being said, I'm curious, how close of friends are you with this guy? Like, do you feel safe around him?
Yeah, absolutely.
You do?
I don't feel like he would ever do anything like against my will.
Here's what I think. Here's what I mean. If you, would you be open to the possibility in a very safe environment, in a comfortable environment, saying, "Can I?" You say to him as a friend, "Hey, Tom, listen, I'm going to say this as a friend, and I don't want you to get defensive, but the other night you made me feel really uncomfortable. I don't think you're a bad guy, and I don't think you have bad intentions, but I just want to point out how you made me feel in that situation, and here's why. Tell the story you told to me, like play it back from your point of view, and hopefully he understands why, like, listen, I respect that you wanted to come up. I I'm a hot chick. I would want to have sex with me too, but I made it clear what I didn't want. And then you kept trying. And listen, I don't mind you giving me the option to go back to my place, but then, and I appreciate you walking me home because that's the gentleman thing to do. But it was pretty obvious looking back that you didn't walk me home to make sure I was safe. You walked me home
hoping
I wouldn't come up. And then you came up, and like every step of the way, you made me feel like you expected to have sex with me. And it made me feel really uncomfortable in my own home. And I hope that, and like, I'm going to trust that like you are deep down a good person, and maybe you don't realize this, and maybe no one ever told you this, but like, do you really want other women to see you this way? Because that's how I felt, and that you made me feel really uncomfortable. And if you can do that and you feel like you're in a safe place to do that, then, I mean, because the only way to try to change this narrative for guys is like to fucking tell them.
Yeah.
You know? And someone's not telling them. And I like to believe that guys, most men, are good-natured and they just haven't been taught or didn't have the upbringing or whatever. But like, we got to start communicating this way. And again, I don't think in any way that you should put yourself at risk if you feel unsafe. It's not necessarily your job to
teach him
teach him. But if you do absolutely feel safe, and he is your friend, and you think he would handle this in a non-defensive, threatening way, then maybe pointing out, and maybe it's in an email, right? Maybe not face to face. Maybe it's on a FaceTime over the phone, right? Like I want to emphasize that you should put yourself in the safest situation possible to explain this to him. But I'd be curious what he has to say, you know, because everything you said, the story you told, is not okay, right? You know, this story, like, again, these Aziz Ansari story, like in the morning show, like we're starting to like it's not about like the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, because those guys are monsters, right? We're living in the gray of guys like assuming they can like manipulate and pressure women into having sex, all under the cloak of like, well, you know, she didn't say no.
And that's the biggest takeaway is the second that you got to your house, you need to be able to feel like you can say, thanks so much for walking me home. I'm going to bed. Good night.
Yeah.
And not feel like, I just didn't want to make him feel bad because I want to be his friend. Like, for you in every situation moving forward, your needs, how you feel, what you want have to come first, regardless of how that's going to make someone feel. Because if he's your friend, he'll be like, okay, cool. But the fact that he like kept like pushing it, it's just like, I don't like that at all. And you have to, if that ever happens again to you again, you have to be assertive and being like, I don't give a fuck if you're not going to be my friend. I'm going to bed now. Told you what I wanted. Good night.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
And in that moment, you shouldn't feel bad for him. You should feel good about yourself that you did that. Because it's only going to be those situations, that this kind of epidemic that we have, where I asked two women, are the more guys like that than not? And you both, like, without even thinking about it, be like, yeah, it is. Like, some way we have to change the narrative.
But I feel you, because I felt like that too so many times, especially like in my 20s, where I would be like, I don't want to say anything, like, because I don't want to like make him feel uncomfortable, or I just like, I don't want to I don't want to start something. I'm just going to like move on. Like, he left, it was fine. And it's like, it's not helping the problem, and we're not asserting our power and what we want. And it's not okay. It's really not.
Yeah. I mean,
you shouldn't be made to feel comfortable in your own home to not be able to ask someone to leave when you want to go to bed, you know?
And then every step of the way, he's huffing and puffing, making you feel like you've done something wrong.
Right.
When he's the one who's been like creepy this whole time. And again, like, imagine a scenario where for whatever reason you felt like, oh, whatever, let's just do this. And then only to like hook up. And even if you made out with him, even if it was like first or second base, you're just like, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be a good feeling that you have. And like, I commend you for like standing your ground and getting him to leave. But like I said, if you felt comfortable, and if this guy is a friend and you believe that deep down he's a good person, I would be curious if you found a safe way to let him know how that made you feel. In hopes that he would be willing to listen and learn from it, and hopes that he wouldn't want to ever put any other woman, including yourself, in a situation like that again. It could be a positive thing for him to learn. You know, I think we need to find more allies in this space than enemies. you know, and hopefully like, you know, the guy, I keep saying the Aziz Ansari story because that was so like, that's what this was, right? Like, here's a situation where like he clearly wanted to have sex. She didn't want to. And it seemed like she felt like for whatever reason, she had to do that to make, you know, and again, it's so these gray areas, but like, hopefully now he's more aware of that and he's in tune to it and he's checking in more. Like guys need to check in more with women, not assume, and then B, not try to convince. And again, like, listen, when you're dating and there's always that flirty, like, hey, you know, like, listen, there's always that banter of that tug and war. We're not talking about that. You made it really clear what you didn't want.
Yeah.
Right. More than one.
Yeah.
And he kind of kept trying to find sly ways to like literally wear you down.
You just gotta put your foot down and be like, all right, you gotta go home. Like, you're my friend. You gotta go home. I'm going to bed. And like, if he can't understand that as your friend, then he's probably not your friend.
Yeah. Listen, we really appreciate you calling. I think these are like important calls to have women in your position hear these stories. I don't know. You know, it's unfortunate that women are. That this happens all the time, and that for whatever reason you feel bad. You're not the only one who feels bad, and I hope it doesn't sound like I'm judging you for letting him up or anything like that, because it's unfortunately a common theme of just being like, oh, fine, come up, whatever. I don't want to be rude, but like Steph said, you shouldn't feel bad at all. And it's tricky because, you know, I've even said this on other episodes, and then, you know, women have written in and be like, well, I sometimes say yes because I feel scared of what if I say no? I mean, and you realize, wow, I guess I never thought about that. So try not to feel bad and always think, say no in a safe place, you know, because especially like, hey, if you ever get that sense in the future, don't let him walk you home. If you think, why is he walking me home? Because then you're saying no to him at a bar in public, you know, as opposed to like by yourself at night on the street.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sorry you had to go through with that. That sucks. And I'm sorry it was a friend and it must feel violating and gross, but
stand your ground.
Stand your ground. You did the right thing. You shouldn't feel bad. And if you feel safe enough to let him know, maybe it could turn into a positive thing.
True. Yeah. I think I'm going to talk to him about it.
Good.
All right. Just make sure you feel safe when you do it. FaceTime him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do it in person.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Really appreciate you calling.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ugh. It's the worst. Ugh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it fucking sucks. I've so been there so many times. And I just, when I look back at like my early 20s now, you know, like I just turned 30, I would not, like, I am very comfortable now asking for what I want and telling people what I want. And I just didn't have that confidence. And I don't know if it's like, it's definitely a societal thing where it's like women are just made to feel like we have to please and not ruffle feathers. And it's just it's damaging.
Well, Steph, I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Thank you.
This has been awesome. Welcome to come back anytime.
I'd love to come back.
I really love your perspective.
You give great advice. I mean, now I'm going to call you all the time.
Thanks.
For relationship advice.
Well, as always, we appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for listening. Like I said, and thanks for our callers for calling in, especially our last caller. I mean, calls like that I think are important to
definitely
to let people know that this is still something we are dealing with. Don't forget to send your questions at asknick@castmedia.com, cast with a K. Give us a reviews if you so choose, and we will see you tomorrow.